If you're interested in Batman, you're probably familiar with his many TV shows. Batman the Animated Series, Batman Beyond, Batman the Brave and the Bold, The New Batman Adventures, The New Adventures of Batman, and of course, that weird one from 1966. They're all well-loved pieces of Batman history. But out of all of his many strange escapades, there's one that stands out to me, not only for its great writing and action, but just how underrated it is in the grand scheme of the franchise. The 2004 Batman show, The Batman, isn't a new topic on this channel. I've talked about one of its episodes in detail for a spectacular standalone video. I thought I'd expand upon that today and throw out my thoughts on the series as a whole, to see how it really stands as both a show and a piece of Batman media. So, without further ado, I'm Ghost, your host with the most. Let's talk about the best Batman show you've never seen. The Batman takes place in Bruce's second year out on the streets. He's a new vigilante still looking to prove himself. It's implied he's also one of the very first operating superheroes, and he is getting the Spider-Man treatment for it. The city doesn't trust him, the cops definitely don't trust him, and he's working pretty much alone with the exception of his butler/caretaker Alfred. He's still a Batman who's learning, adapting to Gotham and these new criminals cropping up everywhere. We're pre-Bat Signal at this point. He's got his work cut out for him. The resulting character actually creates one of my favorite portrayals of not Batman, but Bruce Wayne that I've ever seen on screen. There's a lot of Batman media that explores the themes of Bruce Wayne being the mask for this ultimately deeply dysfunctional man, driven to justice at whatever the cost. But this, actually, isn't one of them. I was surprised by that, especially because it takes place so close to the start of his mission. For direct contrast, the Batman, no, not the one we're talking about, the other one, has their Bruce Wayne set up as being Batman for about 2 years as well. But the way these characters are portrayed could not be more different. In the film, he's pretty much let his company fall into disrepair. He's neglected every relationship in his life for the pursuit of Batman, and he outright rejects the idea that Wayne Enterprises could be used as a positive force for Gotham. That last point is a huge part of Bruce's development, learning there are things that Bruce Wayne can do that the Batman cannot. It's fantastic angst potential is what I'm saying. And though it's a pretty extreme version of the trope, I think it's done really well. A lot of his media, at minimum, portrays him as very cold. And honestly, I find that gets a bit grating after a while. The Batman Ninja, while a very strange movie in its own right, just straight up made it seem like he didn't care about his own children. He is told they've spent at least 2 years stuck in feudal Japan without him. There was a gorilla and a time machine, and really it just warrants a video of its own. And he just glosses right over it and goes back to business as usual without even any indication that he noticed his kids were spontaneously older than when he last saw them. That weird middle ground where he's treated like an emotionless justice machine is probably my least favorite Bruce Wayne archetype. All that said, the Batman 2004 Bruce Wayne is just a very nice man. He's a community leader that works with the local government and his company to improve the city. Gotham adores him, and it's for a good reason. He owns several charities, he's a philanthropist, he builds hospitals and education centers. He does all that he can for Gotham. And it makes you root for him. It accentuates the part of him that is Batman, instead of feeling distracting from it. Bruce as Batman seems much more serious and capable than Bruce seems like he would be, but then he'll do something like forcing Green Arrow to sit in the backseat of the Batmobile out of spite. And you can absolutely see how these two are the same guy. Also, it makes the secret identity conflict feel like a real conflict. He really cares about appearing at his galas, about his friends and his relationships. When he's torn between a commitment to them and a case as Batman, you feel for him. The best example of this, in my opinion, is how they handle Ethan Bennett. Ethan Bennett, if you've never seen the show, is Bruce's best friend. They've been buddies for years, played on the same basketball team, and still regularly hang out. They both went down the path of justice, but in different ways. Bruce with the Batman and Ethan on the team of cops meant to arrest him. The Bat embargo was still in effect at this time, but if you're familiar with Harvey Dent, you can probably see where this is going. Season 1 follows Batman continuing to establish himself in the city, as criminals start popping up everywhere and Gotham becomes a more dangerous place. Unfortunately for everyone, Batman's existence is humiliating the Gotham PD. The citizens are beginning to trust Batman more than their own police force, and it makes the chief furious. This is before the days of Jim Gordon, so they decide to classify Batman as a high-priority criminal. to bring him in above almost any other threat. The team specifically assigned to his case are detectives Ellen Yin and Ethan Bennett. And so, they do their jobs, hunting down the Bat.
You have the right to remain silent.
And in doing so, they get to see him helping people. How he's handling things that the cops realistically have no chance against. He isn't a criminal, but he's on the wrong side of the law, and their careers are on the line. They end up torn between siding with the PD and a vigilante. Meanwhile, Ethan confides his struggles in Bruce. It's actually making Bruce feel really guilty to see his friend this way. So he decides to tell him his secret. But before he gets the chance, the Joker strikes. The Joker kidnaps and mentally tortures Ethan. In his escape, he runs into the Joker's chemicals. They make him sick. Very sick, until he starts literally melting. Ethan becomes Clayface, a criminal. Batman and Yin team up to try and help him, but it doesn't seem like he wants to be helped. Season 2 keeps progressing Batman's crusade, but they can't fix Ethan. The series asks if he's gone past the point of no return. The conflict persists through the rest of the seasons, even after Yin really stops appearing as a focus character. Clayface is one of Batman's greatest failures, but Bruce never really gives up on him. He tries to find a cure, to rehabilitate his friend, even when everyone else considers him beyond saving. And that heart is what makes him such a fantastic protagonist. The formula is pretty simple. It's a very villain of the week sort of deal. That remains the same through all 5 seasons. It's got overarching stories, obviously, like the Clayface one I just described, but it really starts getting more of those elements Season 3 onward. At the beginning of Season 3, we get Batgirl, after one Barbara Gordon had her best friend, Pamela Isley, go full eco-terrorist. I actually really love this progression. They have set up Batman solo for 2 seasons now, and watching him mentor other heroes is really sweet, no matter how much he tries to keep her out of it for the first few episodes after she was introduced. Their dynamic is adorable, and the show is better for having it. It's very tired uncle energy. He just wants her to go home and not get into so much trouble. But she does help him out, and even if she keeps stealing his stuff and complaining that she wants to see the superhero lair, she's just kind of fun to have around. Also, for a show that's gone 2 seasons with this super skilled protagonist, something I found really interesting is that the addition of Batgirl helps you remember just how capable Batman is. He's placed in the position of a mentor, but he's rejecting that idea and saying he doesn't need a sidekick. So she's really figuring out most of this on her own with some of his assistants while he warms up to the idea of actually trusting her. Her gadgets are homemade. She has to basically hunt him down every night to try and help with his cases. She doesn't even have his phone number. She has gymnastics training and is the daughter of the newly introduced police commissioner, but she doesn't have bat training yet. She's a teenage girl. She'll make mistakes. There's some things she just can't do that Batman can. But the show never lets her feel like dead weight. She's trying, and in the end, that's why Bruce decides to trust her. Skipping forward a few conflicts and season finales I'll leave you to discover on your own, the start of Season 4 introduces Robin to the fold, who is, as always, fantastic. It's really sweet watching Bruce try and figure out how to parent this stubborn, mildly feral circus kid. Robin adds a great other layer to their dynamic, making the 3 of them really feel like a team. My favorite parts are actually his interactions with Batgirl. They hate each other on sight and act like squabbling siblings for most of the series. This is actually how Batgirl ends up learning Bruce's identity. He gets tired of them trying to one-up each other on a mission to prove who is a better partner for Bruce, and essentially just throws her into the Batcave and tells him to stop acting like children. It's amazing.
I doubt anyone on that crew can even spell danger.
They handled themselves better than we did.
What's the plan then? Drop off the third wheel and regroup back at the hideout?
He's been to the hideout? Well, you might as well just go ahead and tell him your secret identity. He knows? Hey, where are we?
Yeah, why are we going here?
A cave? Really milking this whole creature of the night theme, huh? Bruce Wayne. Knew it. And that makes you Dick Grayson.
And you are?
Sorry. As a not quite official freelancer, I have to go the extra mile to protect my privacy.
She's Barbara Gordon.
Robin and Batgirl are balanced really well, episode-wise. Not everything needs them both, so sometimes we go back to just solo Batman, or maybe it's just Batgirl and Batman, or Robin and Batman, depending on what the episode needs and what creative excuses they can come up with at the time. They even get a really sweet episode that's just basically Robin and Batgirl. If you're curious, it's Season 4, Episode 5, The Breakout, where they try very hard to keep a mob boss from breaking out of the precinct while Batman isn't able to help out because they put him in a cage. Batgirl almost drops an elevator on Robin's head. It's great. Their presence also elevates Bruce's own journey. They teach Batman to rely on others. He used to be just this solo hero, but now he's got allies. He's got people he can rely on. Even if he feels really responsible for them, as he should, they are teenagers. He worries about their safety. The Season 4 finale is just Bruce learning to let others help. It's also the intro to the other heroes in this world when he meets Martian Manhunter. He tries to shield Robin and Batgirl from danger, and that ends up with him putting too much on himself.
Great, so you're saying that to the big guy, we're basically useless.
I wouldn't go that far. We proved Alfred's not a robot.
And I'm so relieved.
What's going on?
Alien invasion.
Alien invasion, huh? Excuse me. Alien invasion? Ah! Alien! Got an alien here!
Different kind of alien.
Hi, John Jones.
It leads to some really sweet moments in character development, where they show how much they care about him, just like he's been caring for them. All this makes it so that by the time we hit Season 5, we can look back and really see the journey. He went from one man doing his best to help people while basically running from the police, to working with them. He's mentoring new heroes, regularly working with others like Green Arrow, The Flash, and Superman. He adopted a kid. He founded a whole team of heroes. He's gone from making Gotham a better place to saving the whole world. And I think it's really sweet how you can literally look down on the world that he saved and feel proud of him. With the narrative aside, let's talk about some of the technical aspects. It's not just Batman and his brood, after all. The show wouldn't be what it is without a colorful cast of friends and foes. There's a lot of familiar faces around here. Joker, Penguin, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, weird twink Riddler. But I think partially because of the Bat embargo, we got a lot of new faces or weird one-off criminals. Ragdoll is one of my favorites, I think purely because of how they animate the non-existence of his bones. Most of the new cast are really fun to watch, and even the well-tread ground is done creatively. Harley Quinn's introduction episode, for example. It's Season 4, Episode 10, Two of a Kind. Instead of introducing her as an Arkham Asylum psychologist, she is a trashy TV show host giving love advice to her viewers. Bruce first meets her as Harleen on the show, and she effectively gets cancelled on the spot for harassing him, which sends her straight to the Joker, who is apparently a diehard fan? They focus on using this world to create new stories that feel faithful to their original interpretations, and I love how it feels like they really care about the source material. It's honestly a shame I found out about it through searching Batman on a totally legal cartoon website and giving it a go based on the art style. Did I mention I like the art style? That's not just my taste for once. The way it's drawn actually adds a lot in my opinion. Remember Ragdoll? I mentioned how they animated him about a paragraph ago. Something that really hit me watching the action was that every character has a different fighting style. Usually you can tell just by looking at him. The frail Riddler has to rely on traps and goons instead of facing Batman head-on. Catwoman is nimble and quick, relying on distance with her whip over brute strength. There's an episode where the Joker is wearing a Batman costume, and while he isn't fooling anyone, his bouncy, kicking style of fighting is contrasted directly with the Batman's sturdy punches, and it comes out when they're just brawling silhouettes. For a good majority of these characters, you could put him in a blank mannequin and tell who's who just by watching them fight. I'd love to see it in the animation quality we have now, but alas, early 2000s television gonna television. So, final thoughts. This is one of my favorite episodic shows to just sit with. Now that I've finished it, I usually put it on while I'm working on my projects. It may not be a very narrative-driven show, but there's just enough of those elements to keep me interested in the overarching plot, while not feeling like a high-stakes watch. If you understand what I mean, some shows feel like I have to be, like, prepared for them because there's, like, a 50-50 chance that my favorite character gets stabbed or eaten or has their eyeball removed or some other nonsense that I love, but my heart cannot take all of that back to back. Please leave them alone. Sometimes you just need a show that doesn't delight in giving you a heart attack every 3 seconds. I have a few personal favorites in that category, but this one's definitely up there. Now when I'm done watching The Batman, I can watch The Batman! Who named these things? If for some reason you want to hear me talk about this show in more detail, go check out my spectacular standalone video on one of my favorite episodes. And if you like this video and want to see more, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It lets me make more videos like these. Tell me your favorite Batman show or episode in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. For now, I've been Ghost. Thanks for watching, and good night.